Where do I even begin? Where should I even start with this series? Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. You see, it's hard to even answer, is it good, if you can't even describe what sort of experience people are even in for. So, I guess I'll start with, what the fuck is this show? And, quickly, I'm realizing why I've been putting this video off for so long. I'm gonna pack up my usual format and punt it right out of the window for this video because selling people on the animation, characters, and plot is the least of my concerns. At least for right now. So right at the start here, you're gonna have to ask yourself, are you 100% okay with male-on-male, full-body anal diving? And I swear, I don't mean that sexually. Are you okay with boys being eaten and crapped out of frog turtles, gratuitous phallic and fetishistic iconography, and cross-dressing boys, secret gay crushes, bishonens, and the line between sexes and sexuality being blurred to the point you're questioning where you fit into the grand scheme of things? Join the club. But put a pin in that for a moment because if Robihachi was a little too gay for you, you haven't seen nothing yet. Of course, I'm talking about Sarazanmai. This anime is such a weird blend of overt sexual metaphors and homoerotic imagery that I'm sure an entire thesis could be written about blossoming adolescence in modern Japan with close male relationships. If you're looking for that sort of video, I'm sorry. You must have me confused. I'm more of a guy who talks about tits and how cute it is when girls kiss. Though this does have me considering branching out a bit. But if you've gotten this far and feel you're up to the task, let me just flat out say that this show is worth the watch. The theme of connections between people, how they're forged, strained, and persevere is one of the most overt themes in this series. The show doesn't shut up about it, to be honest. How it's formed or rekindles over the course of the show is a sort of subtle plotline I appreciate though. As much as it shoves connections down your throat and how people need them, the connection between the main cast is forged rather organically. How each is hiding things from one another, their families, friends, and the world, and eventually gets out is what leads to most of the bonding in this show. We see a deep trust form, not necessarily a friendship, as they rely on one another but have their own goals that are even at odds. Reliance born of pure necessity. It's a pretty deep dynamic that we rarely see in anime. And I honestly wonder if most of the gay imagery there is to reinforce the bond between the three. Nothing screams male bonding like male bonding. Or is the bond there to show how much trust one must have in their partner in a society not so accepting of homosexuality, where a mirrored, shadowy underground is where they can actually be together? Is the whole thing just a metaphor for the lengths people will go to for their loved ones? That hiding in the shadows is the only way we can be true to ourselves, free of judgment? Or is the dark version of the world and the main conflict with the outers a metaphor that not everything is as it seems? That what we perceive as the real world is controlled by an underground corporate military-industrial complex feeding off our desires? Stop. Damn it, I could get lost in that intellectual quagmire, so I'll leave it up to someone far more talented than myself to explore the philosophical meaning behind this series. Animation. And yes, we're looping back around to my usual format at this point. It's quite good. There's a nice soft-shaped, polished look that's super bright and colorful, making this show stand out. The vibrant pastel color palette keeps the series warm. Even in these underground segments, it's meant to be dark, but there's still a ton of reds and purples keeping the show's tone consistent. That it's meant to be warm and comforting. Inviting actually comes to mind. Plus, the animation is brimming with personality, in a way that's reminiscent of Bakemonogatari in how it chooses the focus of its shots. It keeps the tone light, which works with the sheer amount of silliness the anime contains. Metaphor or not, being eaten and crapped out as a different creature and diving into a giant humanoid monster's butt isn't going to be taken seriously in any way. My first reaction was to crack up laughing, which is why this is mostly a comedy that can hit harder subject matter like guilt over accidents one's caused and the burden one places on their family and friends. These goofy scenes make the complex issues these characters are tackling easier for the audience to swallow. while also conveying that they themselves don't understand what they're going through. But they have to muddle through it anyway. What better way to show that than fighting monsters and stealing their desires from their asses? Complaints? I have a few. Like repetition. This show's slated for 11 episodes at this point, and those watching after this is finished airing, let me know how accurate my anime list is on that prediction. A good chunk of the early episodes is not just taken up doing the same activity, fighting those monster kappa zombie ghost things in the dark mirror world, to put a stop to some anomalous activity happening in the real world, but quite literally, recycling animation and sequences wholesale. That's grating to watch, especially when the main plot of the series is hinted at pretty early on, but doesn't really seem to get moving for a good 5 or 6 episodes. At a point, it feels like padding. Even if there's new information learned about the characters each episode and how they fit together in this whole weird mess, this is where we get most of the backstory about the main cast, and it's a neat way of explaining why they are the way they are, as well as delving into their problems. But I still feel that recycling the sequences entirely with a few edits to speed it up cheapens the experience. So, looping back for what's probably the 3rd time, Sarazanmai is a weird, confusing experience that's probably not for everyone. But if you're comfortable enough with 2 dudes kissing and a bit of butt play, then I think it's probably one of the better shows out this season. It has a quirky sense of humor, great imagery, and stands out on too many points to count. Plus, I think it has one of the more interesting storylines I've seen in a long while that's told in an entirely crazy way. So, if you're looking for something that's anything but ordinary, and you want to broaden your horizons a bit, check this one out. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and do all the other YouTube stuff because that really helps me out. Thanks for watching.